introduction.
Good evening, everybody. It's always exciting when we have the opportunity to introduce somebody moving into a new position from somewhere else in our district. So I want to say congratulations to Martha Starkey-Castro, who has been announced as our new business manager. Martha has worked with us in the business office for over a year and a half and closely observing and learning in that office, and I know she's ready for the challenge and the opportunity that is the business manager position here in Lebanon Public Schools. Before joining us, she spent more than 20 years at the college level in the business office, gaining a wealth of experience, moving her way up to being the associate controller at Conn College. And I've seen firsthand the dedication and the work ethic that Martha has, and I know there'll be a lot of new learning, but I think she's going to do a great job, and I wanted to say congratulations and welcome to that position.
Thank you. Martha, thank you for stepping up and helping us all out in a challenging time of the year.
Can't go wrong with chocolate.
That's right. We do not have any communication this evening, so we'll move right into our public participation portion of the agenda. The Lebanon Board of Education bylaws read that we will allow up to 30 minutes for public participation, with each individual speaker allocated up to 2 minutes. At this time, are there any members of the public who are willing or wish to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda.
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Second. Motion to accept by Brian, seconded by Nicole. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Our student representatives report is coming to us from Mr. Gonzalez tonight.
Yes, thank you to Avery, if she's watching, for putting together this report with the weather. We wanted her to be home safe tonight. She has a report for LES. First graders were introduced to coding, and they were able to complete projects and get their crowns. First graders learned about Hanukkah and its traditions. The percussion students went around and performed Christmas carols. Second graders went on a field trip to the Hartford Science Museum, and they loved and have a quote that called "the pad thing you can step on" was a fan favorite in the hurricane simulator. New year, we have a new front sign. We were talking about that as a board here. We do have a community member who is restoring our historic Lebanon Elementary School sign. And the second and third graders got to come to the cafeteria and look at some books and had an opportunity to enter into the Reading Hall of Fame for all of their reading accomplishments. LMS has a winter concert, had their winter concert on Friday, December 15th, and lots of people came, and Avery thought that it was played great. Middle School Theater put on their rendition of the Snow Queen on Wednesday the 13th of December, and there was a holiday-themed Spirit Week at the middle school that led up to a pep rally where the kids played Knockout versus the teachers. At Lyman, Community Speaks came on December 14th, and they commented that we were the most respectful crowd that they had ever presented to. The winter concert also took place at the high school. The first indoor track meet was a success with 4 state qualifiers already.
Wow.
Spanish Club went around and sang Christmas carols to the classrooms. I actually heard them in the office that day. The KCEH wrestling tournament took place with lots of people finishing third or first for their weight class. Eastern Region's concert was last Saturday, and Alexis Simnock and Hannah Gonzalez performed in it. The Internet Safety Concepts was supposed to come to Lyman tonight for families. That was rescheduled because of the weather, but they did still have an opportunity to present how we can stay safe and control ourselves on the internet with the students earlier today. And Amnesty International went on a field trip to Yukon. I was able to catch up with Mr. Brody and Mr. Apicelli and said it was a great field trip. So that's Avery's report.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Avery. Reports of committees. Should we start over here with you, Dawn?
The superintendent evaluation subcommittee met last week, and we will talk about it later.
Great, thank you. Finance, Rachel?
We met this evening. We went over this year's, the 2023 budget. It's projected to be on target. 24-25 budget. Superintendent Gonzalez gave us his presentation. We had discussions of how he got to the current numbers, what drivers are behind that, and possible adjustments that will be made to that. We went over the capital budget requests, what's been completed, what will need to be requested again, and some deadlines that are going to be coming up soon for that.
Any questions for finance? Okay, great. Andrew, enrollment and climate and culture.
Right. We did not meet last month, so nothing to report.
Great. We are meeting, however, Thursday.
We are.
Yes.
Thursday.
Great. Alexis, negotiations, safety and security?
So negotiations, we met on the 20th of December. We met on the 24-25 tuition rates, which was, the minutes are in your packet. We will be voting on that later on this evening. It's at page 44 and 45 in your packet. Just a quick synopsis of that. We really haven't looked at those. There's been a 2% increase since 2019 in our regular tuition rates, except for a COVID year that was 0. And our special services and evaluation rates have not been increased since 2019. We really don't know when they were increased because we hadn't go back any further than 2019. At that point, it wasn't really worth it. So we were taking recommendations from the superintendent and his team, which we will, again, be acting on this evening. We also met today briefly regarding our unaffiliated salaries, and that is also an action item later on today. Safety and security also met on December 20th. We had a student from Lyman present her senior project, and then we went into executive session to discuss security and safety updates.
Thanks, Alexis. Okay, Danelle, curriculum and strategic plan.
So the strategic plan committee met on December 20th, and I'm going to let Andy talk about that when he gets to his report. It's also in your packet. Then the curriculum committee met tonight to discuss the high school's ELA update with their new course proposals, which are part of our action items. Then Dawn discussed our DESA results from October, and the next test is going to be started in January, I think in 2 weeks. And our LES reading curriculum was given an update discussing comparison of the SAVIS curriculum that was already started piloting this summer, as well as the HMH, which will be starting January 31st. And then they're going to compare and contrast the two different programs for the state's mandate, which begins in the fall. And they hope to launch that January 31st through March, and then start making decisions in May. So there's a lot going on with that.
Thank you, Danelle. Questions, Nicole, or no? Okay. Facilities, Nicole.
Okay, so we met this evening at 7 o'clock. The first item on the agenda was the Lyman roof. Tremco is continuing to look at the leaks on the roof, and with all these rainstorms, they're doing a nice job troubleshooting. They still have about 2 to 3 major leaks that they're looking at. So the work on the roof will continue even in the cold weather. Next on the agenda was the Lyman Auditorium lighting. We do have a signed contract from the company ALSS. On January 11th, material will be shipped, and tentatively January 22nd would be a start date for phases 1 and 3, which is, just to refresh everyone's memory, the control panel and the backbone is phase 1, and the stage lighting is phase 2, for a total of about $60,000 to $61,000. And then finally, the LMS at the middle school gym lettering. So before we were talking about maybe putting stickers on the wall, but the facilities department has decided that moving towards painting is the way to go. They're going to be asking Recognition Products to create stencils so that the painting can be done in-house. And that's it for facilities.
Questions? No? All right, and Brian, policy.
Policy did not meet in December, but we are meeting Thursday night. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. Administrators' reports. Are there any administrators who would like to add to their report this evening? No? Okay. Great. All right, thank you. Report of the superintendent. Start with strategic plan.
Yes, lots of exciting things going on in district. I have 3 that I'll highlight tonight, starting with strategic plan. So going back into our strategic plan subcommittee meeting, we spent a good deal of time analyzing the 2019 to 2024 strategic plan, focusing on things that we were able to accomplish. And, that was a rewarding experience for me to be able to engage with the principals who have been in district that long to see all the accomplishments over those 5 years. But we also did look at areas where there's still potential work to be done. We reviewed some sample plans from other districts, and those conversations at the subcommittee level will be a nice springboard to launching the work that this strategic plan committee will engage in. I did send out an invitation to be a part of the strategic plan. No responses yet, but with the holiday kind of sandwiched in between, giving people some time, and I'll send another reminder, and if need be, do some personal outreach. I also sent a very brief survey out to the community, which I have 45 responses for. Right now, I'm working on organizing those things into some common buckets and themes that I can bring to the strategic plan committee meetings. Those meetings will begin in February, and we are looking to have this plan done by the end of the school year so that we can be planning our next year district goals around the strategic plan and communicating that out to families and staff alike. Any questions about the strategic plan?
I just want to make one comment about that. It's not too often. I mean, it's nice to see a strategic plan that you sort of helped develop and kind of be involved in that. I know there were other board members on the board back then, 5 years ago, and all the accomplishments that the districts, all staff included, have come to fruition from 2019 to this year. So I was really happy with us going through everything and saying, oh my gosh, remember where we were? And look, we have A, B, and C to show for it. And I think that Andy we'll all see in the future if you weren't at the finance meeting, but he's highlighting that within the budget presentation to remind ourselves of that. I mean, I've forgotten sitting here, so I think that it's really important for us to remind ourselves of where we came from and where we're going. We're not where we want to be yet, but we're moving in a really steadfast direction. So thank you for leading that charge, Danelle and Andy. It's been nice, so I can't wait to help develop the next one.
Is there a deadline for the surveys?
I did not attach a deadline with the first outreach. All right, moving on to the school study. So we did have a kickoff meeting with the SLAM Corporation. That was done with only school personnel. I know that there is going to be a lot of involvement on the town committee side, but this meeting was really around data that could only come from the school, enrollment trends, tuition, maintenance and repair or replacement, BOE policy, all things that come from us. So our team, myself, Chelsea, John, Jacques, we've all been working to get them the information that they need. They said we didn't have to have it all together before we send it off, so we've been just sending bits and pieces. They're doing all that as like background building, and then they're going to come out and do a facility condition assessment and site visit, tentatively on February 19th and 20th. After they do that, that is when they've communicated that they will go back to the town committee and share some of their initial findings and talk about next steps, but that's underway. Any questions about the school study? All right, and then into the 24-25 budget. I know that it took about an hour for me to go over the draft presentation, so I'm not going to go into that level of detail here. But just reminding you all of timeline. So we do have a subcommittee meeting looking out at January 25th. I'm hopeful to be able to present a more polished and final product to you on the BOE full meeting on the 13th of February. We will then have to have some type of special meeting soon thereafter to approve that superintendent proposal and make it the Board of Education proposal. And then we'll be presenting to the Board of Finance at the end of February on the 27th. Priorities within the budget are very similar year over year. Transparency and trust, providing the best for our schools, our learners, our staff, continuing to strive for excellence, and being fiscally responsible all along the way. I have continued to celebrate the trusting relationship that I feel like we're continuing to build with the Board of Finance in our town around our budget. I think we're in a really good place, and to Sarah's point, we can always be getting better. The context of this budget, I'm going to be doing a lot of thinking and reflecting on where we've been over the course of the past 5 years with the strategic plan, but also talking about some exciting things that we have coming as we developed the Lebanon Public Schools strategic plan up to 2030. Some things that weren't on last year's presentation that are in this one, really looking at a DIRG analysis, the district reference group, and comparing how students in DIRGs A, B, and C are doing and compared to students in DIRG D, E, and F, which we are in DIRG F, and showing the disproportionality of money that goes to those districts in how they're performing academically versus the money that goes to our DIRG and how we're performing academically. Also being responsive to the current legislative requirements for schools, making sure that the Board of Finance in our town is well aware of that. But all in all, really, focusing again that we are one in this process and that we're going to do our part as a school system to give the best for our learners and our staff, but being very respectful and responsive of the needs of our entire community. I do spend some time going over the historical BOE proposals and the historical town-approved budgets, and then diving a little bit more into what was all involved in the initial projection. We did spend a lot of time today as a reminder of what our primary budget drivers are: salary and benefits, transportation, and contractual fixed costs, which we have very limited control over unless we are talking about letting staff go, and that is the last thing we want to do. There have been areas examined for potential savings through retirement or increasing revenue through potential school day preschool or alternative high school setting offerings. And then we talked about the wild card that can be special education costs, move-ins or outs that can change tuition and transportation lines dramatically. And I will be spending a significant amount of time also sharing what I consider to be our return on investment, highlighting some of the newer programs and offerings that we had from just this last year. All that being said, after we took in all of the requests from staff and departments, the percentage increase was at a 6.7. After doing some cuts through conversations with administrators and making some tough decisions on my own, I've been able to get that percentage down to 4.8, and I'm going to continue to go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that I can bring forward a very supportive but fiscally responsible budget to the Board of Ed for approval.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on the 24-25 budget? Just to add to that, we do have to, or there is a potential for us to have a special meeting in 2 weeks or so, shooting for the 25th of January, which will be the same evening that the subcommittee is going to be meeting. So if we could do it right after the finance subcommittee, just keep your eyes open at your email, if you don't mind. Okay? All right. If you can't make it, just let us know. It should be okay. As long as we have quorum, we should be okay. Okay? All right, we'll move on to our finance report, 23-24 budget.
All right, for our 23-24 budget, we currently have 47% remaining from that budget. Our 5-year average at this point was roughly 43.5%. So we are slightly above our historical averages. As I have continued to say, there have been some significant changes in special education tuition and transportation. That continues to be the case, and we have had some staffing shakeups as we were excited to announce Martha today. It just goes to show that there are changes with staffing even during the year, and that's something that we're also closely monitoring.
Any questions? 23-24. Okay, our non-lapsing account.
Non-lapsing, in the report you have at your place setting, the non-lapsing projected balance after our latest request has us at $169,000. Any questions about the 23-24 or non-lapsing accounts?
Okay. All right, that brings us to our action items. Act on the change to authorized signer for child nutrition program.
So in the transition within the business office, our business manager needs you to authorize her to be signing off on this ED-099 agreement for child nutrition program. So today, I would ask that the board act to make Martha an authorized signer for the child nutrition program.
Thank you. Motion by Alexis, seconded by Danelle. Any discussion? Just for those that are new on the board, this is kind of just protocol. Every year, we have to authorize our business manager to make decisions and sign on the child nutrition program. There's also some other policies that we have to adopt yearly based on the child nutrition program. The state of Connecticut has told us to, so. Okay, any other discussion? No? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Okay, act on the 24-25 regular education tuition rates. Alexis gave us a little bit of information on this. Do you have the specific dollar amounts?
Well, it's on page 44 of your packet. So if I go back to my... it was the recommendation of the committee to increase the 24-25 tuition rates 2.5%. Our current rate is $12,123, and if you go to page 44, you'll see what the increase would be. It also does impact the staff for children, but it's all on that grid that we have there. So again, it was a recommendation from the superintendent as well as from our subcommittee to approve that.
Go ahead.
If I may, I do think it's very reasonable to go up 0.5%, given that we have not increased over 2%, for more than 5 years now. Costs for running the school are more expensive. I think the sending towns completely understand that. And while we have managed how much do we want to increase tuition versus how much do we want to increase enrollment, I do not see this slight increase impacting enrollment decisions.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve the increase in tuition rate
In the amount of
in the, so the first part is the regular tuition increase to 2.5%, and then keeping the children of staff members to 25%
of the general education
of the general education.
cost. Yep.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Nicole, seconded by Brian. Any discussion?
Just out of curiosity,
Yep.
Is there financial aid offered by any organizations for sending in schools out of town?
So most often, these tuitions are paid by the other boards of ed.
Yeah.
However, if there were somebody who lived in a town that had a high school that wanted to come here, then it would be the cost of the family, and we have not done financial assistance in that case.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Action item number 3, act on the 24-25 special services tuition rates.
So that was also discussed and a recommendation based on the superintendent and his team. It is on page 45, and I will let Andy speak to that because they did all the research.
Yeah, so this one, the increase does seem more substantial when you just look at it being a 10% increase from 1 year to the next. But we have not increased at all with our special services rates for as far back as we can remember. So we kind of rationalized this that if over the past 5 years we had been doing 2%, these are the figures that we would have come in at, and these ending figures are comparable, if not low, to what other districts are charging.
Question?
Just one, since it is a little more, since it is a higher rate increase, have we already any kind of had those conversations and
Yeah, so I met with Dawn after we did this initial analysis and, prepped her that I'd be bringing it to the committee and said that we need to be proactive in having communications with our sending towns so that they understand where we're coming from, our rationale, and even though, for example, it might be a $35 difference, which may not break the bank, it's just the fact that this is different than what we've done in the past, and I feel as a cooperating school and district, we should be making that outreach.
appreciate the transparency? Thank you.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to increase the 2024-25 special services tuition rates as presented.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Brian. Any discussion?
It's not really tuition rates, it's services. It says tuition rates on this.
It is more, it is services, special
Because
services.
it is out of district that are paying for kids who are tuition fees.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Okay, great. Action item number 4, act on the new ELA course proposals. Danelle, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. So these are 2 courses being proposed at the high school, both in the ELA department, that's the English department used to be called. One is graphic novels, and the other one, these are half-year courses, 1 semester, graphic novels and animals and nature, I believe it's called. Literature. And they're very excited about adding these in. It gives students more choice. It appeals to students who are in our ag department, and part of our overall goal of our town. We'd like to see more agriculture in our curriculum. And the graphic novel one is especially appealing to those who wouldn't normally pick up a book. So our committee would like to see this approved.
I want to take those courses.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve the 2 new ELA course proposals outlined.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Danelle. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously.
Okay, so we're going to move that we move into executive session for the purpose of discussing a personnel matter. Number 2, purpose of discussing 24-25 unaffiliated salaries, inviting the superintendent, and then excusing the superintendent for number 3 of the purpose of discussing the superintendent's mid-year evaluation.
Motion by Alexis, seconded by Danelle. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Sherry, are you in favor of going into executive
I'm sorry.
session? That's okay. That passes unanimously. So we are now in executive session.